Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down something pretty revolutionary in the world of AI. It's called AgentFly, and it's this new approach where an AI learns from its experiences, kind of like we do. And trust me, this could change the whole game when it comes to building smart machines. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the big problem AgentFly is trying to solve. Then we'll get into how it actually learns like a person. We'll peek under the hood at its memory, check out how it did in some serious tests, and then wrap up by thinking about what this means for the future of AI. Sound good? Let's go. All right, first up, let's talk about the AI upgrade problem. Because really, to get why AgentFly is such a big deal, you first have to understand this massive roadblock that's been slowing down AI agents for years.
So, why is making an AI smarter so ridiculously hard? I mean, you'd think, hey, just teach it new stuff, right? But in reality, it's way more complicated. It's a huge technical headache and, frankly, a massive money pit.
You see, for the longest time, developers have been caught between a rock and a hard place. They had two pretty terrible options. The first was to build these static agents. Think of them as being built with fixed, rigid rules. They're predictable, sure, but the second they see something they weren't programmed for, they just break. The other option? It's called fine-tuning. This is where you retrain the whole AI model with new data. It makes the AI way more flexible, but oh my gosh, the cost and the time it takes are just astronomical. It makes learning on the fly totally impractical. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. The researchers who created AgentFly called it the Central Research Challenge. How in the world do you build an AI agent that can learn all the time from a constantly changing environment without the insane cost of constantly retraining it? That's the billion-dollar question they set out to answer. So, let's get to the solution. The team behind AgentFly had this brilliant insight. They figured the answer wasn't just throwing more computing power at the problem. Nope, it was something more elegant, more biological. They took a look at the best learning machine on the planet, our own brains. I mean, think about how we learn, right? When you learn to ride a bike, you don't rewire your entire brain. Instead, you just build up experiences. You store these little memories of what happened. You start seeing patterns, creating mental shortcuts. You remember what worked, and you try to do that again. And when you face something new, your brain goes, this is kind of like that other time, and you use that past experience to figure it out. Well, it turns out this whole process actually has a name in the AI world. It's called case-based reasoning, or CBR for short. And it's a strategy that's grounded in psychology. The idea is super simple but incredibly powerful. You solve new problems by digging up similar old ones and adapting their solutions. And that is the fundamental idea behind AgentFly. Okay, so they have this great, human-inspired idea. But how do you actually build it? How do you give an AI an external brain it can learn from? Here's the absolute key. Instead of trying to mess with a large language model's core programming, that expensive fine-tuning we talked about, AgentFly does something totally different. It leaves the main AI model alone. It freezes it. And then, it gives it an external memory, what they call a case bank. You can think of it like giving the AI its own personal journal, where it writes down everything it does and learns. So the system itself has three main components. First, there's the planner. This is an LLM that's like the strategist. It looks at a new problem, breaks it down, and, this is the important part, it checks the case bank for similar experiences. Then you've got the executor. That's another LLM, and it's the doer. It takes the plan and uses different tools to actually get the job done. And holding it all together is the case bank, that ever-growing library of every success and every failure. And this creates this awesome self-improving loop. So a new task comes in, the agent retrieves similar cases from its memory, then it reuses and revises that old solution to fit the new situation. It tries it out and evaluates the result. Did it work? And finally, it retains that whole new experience, the problem, the solution, the outcome, and saves it back to the case bank. So literally, with every single task, it gets smarter. Okay, that all sounds great on paper, but does it actually work? Well, let's get into the proof, because the performance data is seriously impressive. So the researchers put AgentFly through its pieces on something called GIA, which is this really tough benchmark for general AI assistants. And the results were pretty mind-blowing. AgentFly didn't just do well, it took the #1 spot on the leaderboard, blowing past other major frameworks. And let's put a hard number on that win, 87.88% accuracy. Now, that is not just a little bit better, it's a massive leap. and it shows just how powerful this memory-based approach is for reasoning and planning. But here's what I think is the most telling part. A true sign of intelligence is how you handle brand new problems, right? Well, when AgentFly was faced with tasks it had never seen before, having that memory bank boosted its accuracy by almost 10%. That means it's not just memorizing, it's actually generalizing. It's reasoning by analogy, just like a person. And this wasn't just a one-hit wonder. It absolutely dominated across a bunch of different tests. It beat state-of-the-art methods in web research, it set a new record for answering factual questions, and get this, on a crazy hard benchmark called Humanity's Lost Exam, it came in second, performing almost as well as a theoretical GPT-5. Wow. Okay, so let's zoom out and really think about what this all means. This isn't just another small step forward. Why is a system like AgentFly a potential game changer for the entire field of AI? Well, it's because AgentFly gives us a real, practical path forward. A way to build AI that can learn all the time, in real time, from its environment. It breaks us out of that old, broken cycle of either having a dumb, static AI or having to spend a fortune on retraining. It's a path to AI that can actually grow. So let's just boil it down to the key takeaways. First, it's way, way cheaper. No retraining means huge savings. Second, the core AI model stays the same. All the learning happens in that external memory. Third, it's much better at tackling new problems it's never seen. And finally, and this is the big one, it offers continuous adaptation. This is an AI that gets smarter with every single thing it does. And that really leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. For years, the dream has been an AI that can build up wisdom from its own experience. Now that it looks like we have a way to actually do that, what happens next? If AI can learn from experience, just like us, what are the impossible problems in science, in medicine, in our everyday lives that it might finally help us solve?